Thanks for tuning into Dirty Teeth and welcome back to the channel. A little while ago I installed a Redshift Suspension Seatpost on my fat bike. After riding on it every day for over a month and putting it through the ringer, I'm ready to share the pros and cons and my overall assessment. Here we go. All in all, I've logged about 40 straight days of winter fat biking on snow with this seat post. This includes JP's 200k Fat Pursuit, Fat Bike World Champs, and some pretty harsh weather conditions. Most of the riding was done between 0 and 20 degrees Fahrenheit. This includes everything from groomed cross-country trails to boot-packed single track to snow machine-packed roads. I tried it out with no luggage, but also with a small saddlebag and a couple different bike packing bags hanging from it. I feel I now have enough insight to deliver an objective review. First, let's chat a little about why you might consider this seat post in the first place. Let's face it, none of us are getting any younger. It seems like the older I get, comfort becomes more and more important. I'm less willing to absorb unnecessary wear and tear on my body. Any products that minimize jarring and vibrations during extended rides find a place on my radar. I've been using the Redshift shock stop stem on my gravel bike for a while now, and I'm really stoked with it. I'll put a link to that review down below. The goal of the seat post is similar to that of the stem, to soak up bumps and help you float over rougher terrain. A gravel bike or a hardtail mountain bike seem like the most appropriate uses, but I decided to try it on my fat bike. From post holing and chewed up trails to washboards from snow machine tracks, my backside gets bucked around more than you'd think, even with low tire pressures and big floaty tires. So I installed this seat post with the hopes that it would increase overall comfort and reduce fatigue. I'll get to that in a sec, but first things first, the price. It retails for $230, not cheap. That could be a big turnoff for some. It's only available in 27.2 diameter, so if your bike is spec'd with a wider seat post, you'll have to buy a shim, which is $10 more. You can get a nice lightweight carbon seat post or an alloy Thompson post for half the price. This brings up another potential turnoff for weight weenies in that it's pretty heavy. According to my scale, the seat post weighs 547 grams with just the mainspring installed. It bumps up to 569 grams if you add in the secondary spring. It's not completely fair to compare a suspension post to rigid posts. If the seat post increases riding comfort and reduces fatigue or pain, that's an intangible that can be well worth the money and added weight. Redshift claims it reduces shock and vibration up to 60%. If you compare it to other suspension posts on the market, like Suntour, Cane Creek, or Cirrus, it's actually pretty light for what it is. As I mentioned, the post comes in 27.2 diameter. It's available in one length of 350 millimeters. The shims they offer are 4 inches long and made by Cane Creek. These allow the post to work on bikes designed for 28.6 up to 31.8 millimeter seat posts. My fat bike uses a 27.2 post, so no shims for me. But I have used them on clients' bikes over the years with no issues. The length was also fine for me. I'm glad it came with number marks, which makes dialing in saddle height easier, especially switching back and forth between bikes. Redshift is releasing a pro model of their stem, which is lighter in weight, but unfortunately, there's no plans yet for a lighter seat post. The current model is constructed of 6061 T6 aluminum and offers 35 millimeters of cushion for the pushin. That's equivalent to about 1.4 inches. Installation is straightforward as long as you take some basic measurements from your old post before you remove it. Redshift has very detailed instructions and an installation video available on their website. You can easily adjust how firm or plush it feels by spinning the preload adjuster and or swapping the second spring in and out. Speaking of the springs, if you're worried about them stretching or failing, don't. Redshift states you'll never have to replace them, and they're designed to last the lifetime of the post. In addition, the internal mechanism uses SKF seals, which you find on high-end suspension forks. This helps keep out mud, grit, and water. Out of the box, only the mainspring is installed. You can easily slip the secondary spring inside of the mainspring if you require more stiffness. There is a rider weight limit of 242 pounds. One of the knocks used to be it wasn't firm enough for heavier riders or those that wanted a topped out feel. In response to the feedback, Redshift now offers a stiffer spring set as an option. If you're using the stiffer springs, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Another cool feature is its compatibility with Shimano Di2 electronic shifting. You can fit the battery in the post with a separate mounting kit, which is available for a few bucks. For ideal operation, 15 to 25% sag is recommended. It's pretty tough to set the sag with one person, so I started off with a guesstimate from their baseline chart. Then I did some tuning during my first few rides. Initially it was a little soft for my taste, so I wound up adding the second spring, which was more to my liking. If you have trouble spinning the preloader by hand, you can stick a 4mm Allen wrench through the holes to get more torque. This makes it very easy to micro adjust. Once everything was set, I raised the seat post a couple millimeters. But the initial recommendation of raising your seat post 6 mil and moving your saddle forward 5 mil was pretty spot on for me. If you're curious, I wound up at preload number 3 with the inner spring installed using the standard spring kit. The pivot shaft is almost hidden when I'm weighting the bike in a neutral position. From this I can infer my sag is around 15 to 20%. For reference, reference, I currently weigh 158 pounds. This works for me in the riding I do on my fat bike. Your scenario will likely be different. When I switch this over to my gravel bike, I'll revisit the settings and probably go a little stiffer. With all the tech and specs mumbo jumbo out of the way, let's get to the meat. What are my thoughts with more than a month of use and abuse? I did most of my riding with nothing attached to the post or my saddle, but I did try it out with a big Revel 8 Viscacha seat bag, a smaller Revel 8 shrew, and a regular old saddle bag. They all worked fine. The shrew worked best because it attaches only at the rails. Without a seat post strap, there's zero contact and no interference. The Viscacha worked great as well. The large Velcro strap attaches below the linkage and fender. With a bag that big, you might need to double check your rear tire clearance when the post is fully compressed. I didn't want to take off my rear rack for the test, so I bottomed out on it a little. But with that out of the way, it would have been fine. The Viscacha had the heaviest load by far, but not enough to affect the feel of the post, and I didn't need to adjust the preload. I didn't feel any added bob or sway. Interestingly, the worst fit was with my smallest saddlebag. It still worked, but the seat post strap looped around the bottom of the fender. No big deal, but it caused the fender to pop out a little when the seat post was engaged. As with any post, there will definitely be rubbing and abrasion from bags over the long term. So I definitely use some silicone tape or other protection to keep wear and tear to a minimum. Obviously, all bags fit differently, and I'm only speaking to the ones I tried. But it seems like it should work with most that attach with Velcro straps and allow for some movement. Redshift warns against bags that use rigid mounts on the seat post. They'll inhibit the post's movement, which can in turn damage the post and your bag. After getting it dialed to my liking, I've pretty much forgotten the post exists. Until I go over some rough terrain, and then I remember, it's doing its thing. It's still installed on my fat bike. I have no intentions of taking it off until spring when I'll slap it on my cutthroat. It's still as quiet, responsive, and smooth as it was on day one. The magnetic fender works great at keeping the internals nice and clean. The suspension moves naturally, and it doesn't feel like I'm riding a pogo stick. It's been flawless in sub-freezing temps and harsh weather. I've had no noticeable loss of power or pedaling efficiency, even on the toughest climbs. This was one of my biggest concerns. I've been able to pedal smoothly and stay in the saddle over bumpy terrain, which is crucial for keeping traction in the snow. As with the Redshift stem, the only real drawbacks are the price tag and added weight. But if you justify it as an investment in self-preservation over grams, then the benefits far outweigh the drawbacks. I felt less wear and tear on my rear end and lower back, especially on extended rides and multi-day adventures. The range of adjustability and ease of tuning are both pluses. Don't expect it to be set it and forget it out of the box. You've got to treat it like a suspension fork or shock and take the time to find the sweet spot. Final verdict, if you spend hours on end in the saddle, your body will thank you for using this seat post. Of course, I do wish there was a lighter option. Don't we all? That's my take on the Redshift Suspension Seatpost. If you're intrigued by it or interested in giving it a shot, I put some links in the description below. I hope you found this video informative, and if so, please give us a like. Are you currently using this seat post or something similar? Please share your insights in the comments below. If you're new here, I upload fresh bikepacking and mountain biking content every week, so please consider subscribing to the channel and tapping the notification bell. That about does it for now, so until next time, ride bikes, drink beer, live happy.
Thanks so much for squeezing dirty teeth into your busy schedule. Please help us reach more people and ensure you receive new videos by giving this video a like, subscribing to the channel, and clicking the notification bell. Until next time, ride bikes, drink beer, live happy.